Hello, everyone. I am Teresa Oshman, your host of Hanging Out for a Living. And thanks for joining us today. This is where we have one of the most interesting and heartfelt conversations. And today is going to be a heartfelt conversation, one that touches every single one of us in some way. I'm hanging out today with Jessica Catlin, an end-of-life educator and practitioner. Now, did I get your last name right?
Yes, you did. Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you. Uh, so she's not a medical professional, but a compassionate guide, someone who helps individuals and families navigate one of life's most profound transitions with dignity, clarity, and love. We'll talk about how she empowers families to make thoughtful choices and what it really means to live by understanding, how we wish to leave, and how we can bring peace and connection back into what I like to say, the end of life experience. So, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Teresa, for having me on.
Absolutely. I was really looking forward to hanging out with you today. So let me dive into the questions that we were talking about here. So tell me, what inspired you to step into this work, and how do you describe what an end-of-life practitioner really does?
Yeah, so my journey into this work really is actually a personal journey. I really have traced it back to my grandmother,
Ooh.
who was very much into history and genealogy and lineage and just the preserver of legacy, right? And she would, when my sister and I were little, she would put us in the back of her van. We'd pack up a picnic basket and we would go picnic on our family's gravestones in all the
Oh,
local cemeteries. And we would just look at pictures, or she would talk about, ancestors she had never met, or maybe people my sister and I had never met. And it was really beautiful and peaceful and like wonderful bonding time. And we didn't think it was strange. We were so young, like we didn't have any of that outside noise saying this is weird.
no.
And it was really beautiful. And I appreciate that now more as an adult, obviously. But my grandmother got diagnosed very young with brain cancer. She was 54 when she died. She died 3 months after being
Wow.
diagnosed, but she died her way. She died at home, which most people want to die at home. And she was surrounded by her loved ones. My family moved into her home. We cared for her. I was about 10 years old.
Oh, okay.
And she said, let's try on my wedding dress. What jewelry do you and your sister want? This is how I met your grandfather. Plain Neil Diamond. Please keep my hair and my nails looking nice and sing to me. And when you think I can't hear you, I can hear you. And please talk to me. And she would tell us how she was going to show up in our lives after she died as a butterfly.
Mm.
And I know looking back now that that's how I got into this work. So I saw a lot of the beautiful aspects of the planning and the conversations, but then a few months after her passing, two of my other family members died, and it wasn't um, as planned or
Sure.
as embodied as her death was. And so I saw a lot of family fallout and things occur that didn't need to. Uh, and so, yeah, that's what brought me here.
Your grandmother, what a beautiful legacy she left, right? In you
Yeah.
and your sister. And wow, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, you talk about restoring personal agency and empowering families to make choices that reflect their values. What are some of the ways you help them do that?
Well, so often I find that what people know is only what they've seen, right? And there's so
Right.
much more out there than what you see. And so I meet people where they are. If they know what they want, wonderful. But often a lot of people are in a stage of curiosity and they want to know what's out there. So I go into, a meeting with education, starting with, where do you want to die? If you could picture your perfect death, not that that is
Right.
what people should have in their mind, but if you could, let's start somewhere, right? Let's start with a plan. What would that look like? What would that feel like to you? Who do you want to be there? Who maybe do you want to be there minimally? Like maybe only 15-minute visits, right? Because you want to protect your peace and your space and have a good balance. Um, Now is not the time really to be doing or living for or dying for anybody else, right? Go on your terms. Uh, the emotional support, what's going to make people feel authentic, right? Often I
Sure.
get my conversations going with someone at the end of their life, and often they say they didn't live with their intention in mind, right? Like they got really off the beaten path with living authentically. And so I'll just say if you were going to die tomorrow, how would you want this all to play out and look? And here are all your options. And we can pivot. Here's your plan, but just like a birth plan, right? You
Right.
can pivot from what needs to happen medically and make space for that. And then you can have areas where, listen, I'm going to stay. This is what I want. I can't stray from this. So yeah, meet people where they are.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's some really great advice. Absolutely. So many people shy away from talking about death,
Mhm.
yet you approach it with so much grace. So how do you help families move from fear to acceptance?
Yeah. It's I use, education, but also a little levity, right?
Right.
Because death is often, a very heavy subject, but it doesn't have to be. Um, I think when you explain, listen, we plan for weddings, we plan for births, let's plan for our death. And, people say they don't want to be a burden at the end of their life on their families. That's fantastic. Let's do it now. Let's set you up for success. So that way, your biggest act of love for your family can be having all of this buttoned up and be as best planned as we possibly can.
Right. Right. So for those who may be caring for an aging parent, spouse, or a loved one, what's one small but meaningful step they can take today to bring more peace to that journey? And I know you touched on some, but if there's another one that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think, while the person is still alive, just say what is the most meaningful to you in life? Because we can do that now.
Right,
We can do that now. Um, they might say, legacy. I want to be remembered for X, Y, and Z. Let's do that.
right,
We have time. We can do that. Or, if time is not on our side, we can make sure your family holds your legacy torch going forward in the way that you want, you know. But also focusing more on the caregiver, receive help, ask for help.
right.
Very hard. I
It
understand it's
is.
very hard. So when you have someone asking you, can I help you? Say yes. And for people who are supporting the caregivers, um, stop worrying about saying something wrong. Not saying anything is often worse than saying the wrong thing. And your people know you in your life, right? If you say something silly, they understand what the intention was, right? So
Right.
always say the thing. And we got to step in and care for our caregivers more as a community. Um, I think it's just saying, listen, I'm going to bring you over food Thursday night. Is there something you're really, really wanting? If not, I'm just going to show up with this on your doorstep. And stop putting the onus on the caregiver
Right.
to tell you what they need. Just put it out there for them to accept.
Absolutely. So I want to loop back to something you said about your grandma, the butterflies.
Mhm.
Have, was there a specific type of butterfly? Was there one that has shown up?
It's funny she said butterflies because, yes, I have seen some butterflies often in moments of distress or maybe downness where I will see one and that always, fills my heart with okay. But really, I'd say the past several years, I feel like it's changed from butterflies to dragonflies.
Ooh, okay.
So,
Interesting.
and that to me makes sense because I often feel like I need to make more intentional time to be hearing, to be present. I try. That is part of my practice. I'm a certified meditation teacher, but dragonflies have more of a loud, strong energy than a butterfly, and I've been needing that in my life. So I think she does show up for me in the ways that I need in that moment. One day I was walking into my home. This was years ago, and I was thinking about getting into this space and for a profession, and there was giant, I still have a picture of it, giant dragonfly, like
Ooh,
shockingly large,
wow.
at my back door on this special plant planter that I have, that I always make sure I take the time to put something nice in there because that's my entrance and exit.
Sure.
And it wasn't moving, it was quite close to my face, me going in and out of my door, but and I sit on my porch often, and I'd say dragonflies. She's been
Dragonfly.
showing up as dragonflies.
Oh,
Mm,
perfect, perfect.
yeah.
Thank you. So, Jessica, thanks so, so much for bringing such light and compassion to this conversation and for reminding us that death isn't the opposite of life, but really part of it. Um, Folks, if you'd like to learn more about Jessica's work or explore resources for navigating life's final transitions with peace and dignity, you can connect with her directly. I promise I'll include her contact information in the description below. And if today's conversation touched your heart, I'd love you to subscribe to Hanging Out for a Living and share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. Because conversations like this really are what remind us what truly matters: love, presence, and connection. Jessica, thank you again so much for joining us today. Bye,
Thank
everybody.